So I'm telling a little story about turning uh, extreme life challenges into something that really forwards life in a positive way. And I'm just going to start out telling a little story here that was told to me by what my first teacher, and he was from India, and he told the story of sitting in a temple meditating, and he heard this argument going on. The argument was between the hearthstone and the deity. You know, the deity obviously uh, represents the divine, and the hearthstone was just there as a kind of a floor stone. And the floor stone was complaining, how come all these people come and they bring you flowers and fruits, and they just stand on me or kneel on me? I don't get any of that. And so the deity says, you and I were both in the same stone yard. But I suspect when the sculptor came and grabbed his hammer and chisel to test whether he could turn you into a figure of beauty representing the divine, you didn't yield. You held back, or you even uh, you resisted the blow of the hammer. For me, for somehow I trusted that these blows, these hammer and chisel, that there was a master carver that knew best. Now that story really applied to my life in terms of the many losses and hardships that I had gone through. I recognized that there is a hand at work here. Like life isn't against me, it's for me. And uh, what could I take out of these experiences? And so that was in 1970, I heard this story. It wasn't until 1991 that I became a stone carver and remembered the story. Like, wow, that was a seed planted in me, and now it is blooming. And I did a show in Canada with a number of Native Americans, and there was one sculpture I'll describe that was really, really moving to me. And so picture a rectilinear block of stone, and on the top of it was carved a man, and he's holding a chisel in one hand and a hammer in the other hand. And the name of this sculpture is, I carve away what I am not. So this healing journey, which all of us are on, is a journey of letting go of some of the wounds, some of the experiences that are somewhat preventing the experience of inner peace. And inner peace for me is the treasure within each and every person. How we access that is really what very often these hard times can bring us to a point of, can I turn within and find some peace with the state of my life? So there was another message from this teacher, which I'll relate again later. He said, as you think, so you become. And when I look at that, I have to look at what am I thinking about? Because it's really, if it's going to come about, I better uh, be, I wanted to use the word discriminatory. I want to take some of those thoughts and just let them go. Or I want to take those thoughts and process them so that I can release them. And that's our healing journey right there. Because if thoughts make manifest, the whole state of our perception is started from thought. How we perceive things, we interpret it with words and thoughts. And I'll give you an example. If you wake up in a bad mood, you had an experience with a friend or a neighbor and it's negative, well, our thoughts can very easily run the story. And then we find evidence to prove that we're right about that person. So I'm just happy to be here and to share some time with you. I'm going to share a little video.
Yeah, there was just a transition that was beginning in my life. And there was something about this design that I really didn't know whether it was just another one of these great inspirational sculptures, or was there more to it than that?
Give
I
me a
was
thumbs
looking
up.
for a project to work on with my son over the summertime, and I went into an art supply store and saw a big pile of soapstone and thought, oh, my son's really good with his hands. I'll bring some of that home and we'll spend the summer together. And so we began carving all summer long, 6-8 hours a day we sculpted. And when he started school in September, I really enjoyed it, and so I continued. The sculptural medium of stone is reductive. You're subtracting away what isn't the sculpture. I was discovering aspects of myself that were covered up with behaviors and conditioning that would no longer serve me. I realized that healing was second nature to peace. So then I became Artists for Peace. I get invited to co-facilitate a reconciliation project in Germany. Now, I was raised Jewish, and I never thought I would ever want to go to Germany. We organized this project as a 10-day reconciliation with Jews and Germans getting together in Germany and having this basically a healing. When I got there, I was just with other human beings. And when I heard their story, my heart melted. The suffering that all of us carried around war. I met my wife Lisa there. And when I came back from that, I began a series of sculptures that I originally called attunement. And when I looked at it, it reminded me of a tuning fork. And then that represented to me this dialogue that I was having with these Germans, that we were there attuning. And even though there was this gap, like the divide of humanity because of cultural war or any other differences, we are connected in the body. I was sitting very quietly one morning and I began to witness thoughts arising and spiraling back from silence back to silence again. And as a sculptor, I thought that would make an interesting design. And it has evolved now to this design here, which I call Holos. And this infinite design, to me, represents a symbol for our one humanity. After 20 plus years of sculpting really heavy designs, my body was failing me. In 2014, asked my wife Lisa if I could surrender my life as a sculptor for something new, something that I could serve that was much greater call for me. So I had this vision. The vision was that I could generate my city being a city of peace, just from the work that I can do here. And that if my city could do that, then any city could do that. And so I envision people becoming ambassadors for peace and bringing about their cities into this state of cities of peace. All of this body of work that I refer to as Art for Peace is now moving me forward into a peace builder. And I'm very happy to say that on April 14th of 2015, our mayor, Mayor Lara of Ojai, declared Ojai an international city of peace. And since then, more and more of my friends from around the country are asking me to mentor them so that their cities can begin building a culture of peace. We might feel separate, but we're all essential to the whole. We're all connected at the source.
Would you like to just have a few words about that little video before I go into the PowerPoint? If anybody would like to share anything, just raise your hand, unmute yourself.
I would like to say something to you.
Go ahead. Yes, please.
You're absolutely phenomenal person.
Oh.
They're beautiful missions, and I need you to mentor me. I have a few cities, Niagara Falls. I want to work,
Yes.
go back and take care of, bring in both sides of the border there for that. Thank you very much. What a beautiful video. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that that was very inspirational, and I've been in touch with Cities of Peace, and I'm excited by the project. I don't really know what they do exactly.
So let me launch in and just answer briefly, and you'll see in my PowerPoint, my training. I have a long training in lots of different modalities, but primarily it's been compassionate listening. And
Right.
I was one of the core facilitators of that work, and that led to the Jewish German project, the reconciliation projects, sharing with people all over the United States about the importance of reconciliation and how we can move so that we're not passing the traumas of our ancestors on to our children. That is really critical work. And what we found in our projects, it's silence that keeps it passing on. There's not enough dialogue, healthy dialogue. And in our case, what we do here in Ojai is that we continually offer listening circles for people to come and to connect, share their stories and connect with the peace within. I'm gonna jump into my power.
Can
Oh,
I just
I'm
say
sorry.
something really quickly?
Yes, Carol,
I
I'm
think it's
sorry.
very powerful healing process in and of itself. Looking at carved sculptures, because there is the realization that it's taking away what you don't need to make to create something new, and so it's very symbolic. And as a Native American, symbolism is a language for me. It's very symbolic of the process that we all need to go through to heal and to create a peaceful human being. We have to take away that stuff that prevents us from finding that peace inside ourselves. And so thank you. I really,
Beautiful. Thank you. I'm totally aligned with that. And that's really what was the gift to me of discovering in midlife that I was a stone carver. And yeah, I could go on and on about that, but I'm going to go quickly through my PowerPoint, and please forgive me if I'm going too fast. But we got a late start, and I want to go through this with you all. Um, so I want to honor my parents. Um, it brings tears to my eyes just to see this photo of them. Alexander Berman and Louise Berman. So as I mentioned, my traumas came with watching the footage of the liberation of the concentration camps. Later, as I got into my teen years, I was trained by the Quakers as a peace marshal in this large moratorium against the war in Washington, D.C. In 1970, I met Swami Satchidananda. I became a yoga and meditation teacher, and I started the Berkeley Integral Yoga Institute. And then I married, and in my in my marriage time, I became a product developer, and I did amazing campaign projects. I just wound up, doing the Democratic Convention, Jesse Jackson, Gary Hart, and then the Snoopy fan club. I had so many nonprofit clients, and that led us to. I was part of World Runners, running and building awareness that we could end hunger and save the lives of millions of children. And we organized in Santa Rosa, where I was living, a nonstop relay from Santa Rosa to the United Nations. And we arrived exactly when we told them that we would be there, if you can imagine that. And then in 1988, because I was making products, I made all for the World Runners. I produced all of the wearables for the team. There were over 300 of us from around the world for the World Peace Marathon. And I also produced the 7,000 t-shirts for all marathon participants. And the t-shirts were a pen pal project. They were sponsored by Americans who wanted to connect with Russians. Here was just some of the exchange, all the pins, and really there were so many countries represented. I realized when I was there, I was part of a global family. And so the following year, I went back to Russia and doing citizen diplomacy work. I was leading peace meditations in Moscow, Kiev, and Leningrad. And then with Global Family, we were the facilitation team for seeking the true meaning of peace in Costa Rica. The Dalai Lama was obviously, he opened the conference, and that was the year he won his Nobel Peace Prize. Robert Mueller, who was the Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations, was really the most inspiring speaker I've ever heard. Speaking about a new cosmology in everything, every form of education, and so then I created a campaign for the Earth, and here are just a couple examples. I created a pitch pipe, which was I called the peace pipe, and it sounded a tone for peace. And just my love of humanity and the world. And then this discovery in 1991 that I was actually a stone sculptor. And after 9/11, I really felt that I needed to build listening skills because my community was so divided in how we responded. And so I facilitated a weekly compassionate listening practice group. And for those years, it was every Monday. And then we would take people who were in deep conflict and bring them into what we call listening councils, which basically was peer-based listening. And we were able to reflect with compassion what we were hearing. And it was a healing process. So in 2002, I was invited to co-facilitate the Jewish German Project. We met in a former labor camp that had been transformed into an eco-village. And we did that for a number of years. In 2007, Lisa and I facilitated a compassionate journey in Berlin. A little emotional because some of these people are no longer alive, but they healed before they passed on, which was a real blessing. So here was just my book, and I'm not sure if it's possible if Michael, you're able to somehow put the link into the chat, but I have this as a PDF. You could see a whole series of my art. Here's our Art for Peace gallery, our home gallery. And let's see if this runs.
Holos.
Yeah, whoops, sorry. See if it'll run.
Holos, an amazingly beautiful 3D printed amulet. The power of this amulet is the message it delivers to bring about greater inner and outer love, peace, and unity. The 9 spirals of this torus geometry represent our wholeness as well as our diversities. The Holos design symbolizes our understanding that we are one humanity.
So this torus geometry really is the energetic field that radiates around our heart. And we want that to be strong and healthy as we connect with our brothers and sisters around the world and all the kingdoms, plant, animal kingdom. I designed using the Fibonacci sequence in that sculpture. We see it here in nature. And here's another situation. If we're harboring fear, we really retract around our heart. If we generate more love, we expand. Um, I don't know if you can see this quote because the pictures are in the way, but Nassim Haramein, a physicist, said that I modeled the creative pattern of the universe with this design. It really was beyond what I had initially imagined. So Peace is the Power Within. I also have this little booklet as a download. I just read these two quotes quickly. Peace doesn't require two people, it requires only one. It has to be you. The problem begins and ends there. Byron Katie. And this next quote, if you cannot find peace within yourself, you will never find it anywhere else. That's from Marvin Gaye. So my wife and I created Awakening Peace as our nonprofit, and we are the fiscal sponsors of Ojai International City of Peace, and we lead lots of programs. And I'm not going to lead the meditation because we're almost out of time. So Holos inspired me to create Cities of Peace. Here's our mayor issuing our International City of Peace proclamation. We awarded Dr. Bob Dodge for his initiative for Ojai to be a nuclear-free zone. That meant that our city council divested all of their monies from banks and funds that support the production of nuclear weapons. Here, our mayor issues the proclamation as we celebrate the UN Day of Peace every year here in Ojai. And we participate in the parade, which is coming right up. And these are some of our programs. We have listening programs, cultivating compassion, person to presence, peace and relationship. You can see that. And we have community gatherings. We created welcome signs to Ojai, building a culture of peace. Boy, I'm sorry, my images are really covering up the right side. Oh, okay. And then we attend, oops, sorry. We attended the Rotary World Peace Conference and presented Engaging Community as an international city of peace. I create peace polls and for the schools in Ojai. And earlier this year, I was awarded this Visioneers Award, a Lifetime Achievement Award for Community Well-Being, the Arts, Peace, and Spirituality. So I'm sorry we rushed through that, and I know that we've got another host coming in. I'm not sure. In the chat, one of the things that you can do in the chat is in the far right corner, there's 3 dots. You can click on that and you can type, hit save chat. And so if there are any links or names, please please do so. And you can contact me at brianawakeningpeace.org. And I thank you, and I wish the next speaker greatness. You're wonderful people, and thank you so much. I'm going to close my session so the next one can begin. And really have a peaceful day. Begins with you. And yeah, loving compassion. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. Yeah.